Meet Hassan, a food delivery driver working hard to build a new life in America. He's got a heavy accent and a quiet way about him, but one day, a rude customer in a fancy suburb pushes him too far. What happens next? It's a story of kindness, surprises, and maybe even a new friendship. Before we get into it, we'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so we can bring you more stories that feel close to home. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it means you won't miss our next tale. Ready? Let's dive into the story. It's a rainy Thursday evening in a wealthy suburb just outside Chicago. The streets are wide, lined with big houses and perfect lawns. Hassan, a 32-year-old delivery driver, is riding his beat-up scooter through the drizzle. His helmet's a little scratched, and his jacket's soaked, but he's got a small smile. He loves this job. It's simple, it pays the bills, and it keeps him moving. Hassan's from Syria. He came to the US 3 years ago after escaping the war back home. Life hasn't been easy, but he's grateful to be here, working for a food delivery app, saving up for a better future. Tonight, he's got one last order, a big bag of sushi and ramen for a house on Maple Drive. He pulls up to the address, a huge modern place with glass windows and a shiny SUV in the driveway. He hops off his scooter, grabs the bag, and rings the doorbell. The rain's picking up now, dripping down his face. The door swings open, and there's a guy named Greg. Greg's in his 40s, wearing a polo shirt and holding a beer. He's got that annoyed look people get when they're already in a bad mood. He stares at Hassan, then at the wet bag, and sighs loudly. "Finally," Greg says, rolling his eyes. "What took you so long? I ordered this like forever ago." Hassan keeps his voice calm. "Sorry, sir, the rain slowed me down a bit. Here's your food." He holds out the bag, polite as always. Greg snatches it, then squints at Hassan. "Where you from, anyway? That accent. You don't sound like you belong around here." Hassan pauses. He's heard stuff like this before, but it still stings. "I'm from Syria," he says quietly. "Been here a few years now." Greg laughs, a sharp, mean sound. "Syria, huh? Figures. Guess they'll let anyone deliver food these days. Just don't mess up my order next time, okay?" He shuts the door hard, leaving Hassan standing there, rain soaking through his shoes. Hassan doesn't say anything. He just turns around, gets back on his scooter, and rides off. Inside, he's hurt, but he's used to brushing it off. People don't know his story, how he lost his home, his family, everything in the war. How he used to fix cars for a living back in Damascus. How he's starting over from scratch here. He shakes his head and tells himself, just keep going. Fast forward 2 hours. The storm's worse now, wind howling, rain coming down in sheets. Hassan's done for the night, heading home on a quiet road outside the suburb. That's when he sees it, an SUV pulled over, hood up, emergency lights flashing, a guy's standing next to it, waving his arms. It's Greg. Hassan slows down. Part of him wants to keep going. Why help someone who was so rude? But then he thinks about his mum back home, how she always said to help when you can. He pulls over, parks his scooter, and walks up. Greg looks surprised, then a little embarrassed. "Oh, it's you," he mutters. "My car died. Battery or something. I've been stuck here 20 minutes. Hassan nods. "Let me take a look." He pops the hood wider, grabs a small flashlight from his bag, and starts checking things out. The rain's cold, but he doesn't complain. After a few minutes, he spots the problem. Loose battery cables, soaked and shorted out. "You got tools?" Hassan asks. Greg shrugs. Maybe in the trunk?" Hassan finds a wrench and gets to work. He tightens the cables, dries them off with a rag from his scooter, and jumps the battery with a little kit he carries. 10 minutes later, the SUV roars back to life. Greg stares, shocked. You fixed it, Greg says. How'd you know how to do that? Hassan wipes his hands on his jacket. I was a mechanic back home, fixed cars for years before the war, had to leave all that behind. Greg's quiet for a second. You can tell he's thinking hard. Look, man, he finally says. I was a jerk earlier. I didn't know. I shouldn't have said that stuff. I'm sorry. Hassan looks at him, then nods. It's okay. Happens sometimes. Glad I could help. Greg shifts on his feet. No, really, thanks. You live around here? Not far, Hassan says. Just heading home now. Greg hesitates, then pulls out his phone. Can I get your number? In case my car acts up again, or if you ever want to grab a coffee or something. I owe you one. Hassan smiles, a real one this time. Sure. They swap numbers, and Greg climbs back into his SUV. Before he drives off, he rolls down the window. Hey, Hassan, you're all right. See you around. Hassan watches the taillights disappear into the rain. He climbs onto his scooter, feeling a little lighter. Maybe not everyone sees him as just the delivery guy. Maybe some people can change. The next week, Greg texts him. They meet up at a diner, not as customer and driver, but as two guys sharing a meal. Greg asks about Syria, about the war, about Hassan's life. Hassan tells him bit by bit. And Greg listens, really listens. Turns out Greg's not so bad, just someone who let a bad day spill over. Over coffee and fries, a friendship starts to grow. And Hassan? He keeps delivering food, keeps working hard, but now he's got a story to tell. One about a stormy night, a broken car, and a guy who learned to look past the accent and the wet jacket. So, that was the story of Hassan. What do you think? Ever met someone who surprised you like that? Let us know in the comments. If this story hit you in the feels, hit that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it means the world to us. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and we'll see you next time with another story.